ഒഫീഷ്യലായിട്ട് തന്നെ പരിപാടി ആരംഭിക്കുകയാണ്. സ്വാഗത പ്രസംഗത്തിനായിട്ട് സെക്രട്ടറിയെ
ഈ ഒരു സെഷൻ കൈകാര്യം ചെയ്യുന്നതിൽ ഏറ്റവും വിദഗ്ധരായിട്ടുള്ള ആൾക്കാർ ഞങ്ങൾ അന്വേഷിച്ചു തുടങ്ങിയിട്ട് ഏകദേശം 3 മാസമായി. അങ്ങനെ രാജൻ സാർ വഴിയാണ് ഇവരിലേക്ക് 2 പേരിലേക്ക് ഞങ്ങൾ എത്തുന്നത്. പകരം വയ്ക്കാൻ ഉള്ള ആൾക്കാരെ ഞങ്ങൾ അന്വേഷിച്ചിരുന്നു. ആരെയും തന്നെ ഇതിന് പകരം വയ്ക്കാനായിട്ട് നമുക്ക് ലഭിച്ചില്ല എന്നുള്ളതാണ്. ഇന്ന് ഈ യോഗത്തിന്റെ അധ്യക്ഷത വഹിക്കുന്നത് KHRS പ്രസിഡന്റ് കൂടിയായിട്ടുള്ള പ്രൊഫസർ കാതറിൻ ജമ്മ അവരുകളാണ്. അതേപോലെ തന്നെ ഈ സെമിനാറിന്റെ മോഡറേറ്റർ ആയിട്ടുള്ളത് ശ്രീ കെ രാജഗോപാൽ അവരുകളാണ്.
Of the definition of monuments, of course, I had given a great list, monuments, archaeological sites and remains. Of course, these are all come in the Act, that is 1972 Act, 1958 Act, and then so many things are included as monuments and archaeological sites. Of course, there are all definitions in this. Of course, as far as Kerala is concerned, the main problem is not a single act was enforced here. The state was divided into 3. One was Cochin state, of course Malabar, and also Trivandrum state. So the rules also varied from the beginning. Of course, Cochin state was very alert. Cochin state was the first state to, and there is a pass the act, that is rules and act, of course, for preserving the ancient monuments. But unfortunately, they have not seen them, of course, in long-term view. If you go to this, even the Vadakanatha temple, if you take, by the notifications in 1945-46 itself, they notified only the wooden brackets and the murals are protected. Like the Kadavallo, wooden brackets are protected. In Perumanam, wooden brackets are protected as a monument. But if you protect only wooden brackets, what will be the structure? You cannot alter the structure. That is, if you want to preserve the wooden structures or wooden brackets. So this was the problem. Of course, they are not forcing, they have not been guided by others. So it became law. Of course, they became de facto protections under ASI. When ASI, that is enforced the Act in 1947, that is after the amalgamation of the states. So that became, in Trivandrum, even that was not that, there was only one notification. Of course, Malabar was a British area. So they enacted, there is various laws that is governing the archaeological monument. Next one. Yes, please. Because I am not going to this. Of course, UNESCO is the body which is interested in preserving the heritage throughout the world, of course, in a global context. Of course, they conducted many conferences with all the stakeholders, more than 97 countries participating in it. Of course, in Nairobi in 78, 76, and again in Paris in 1970. Of course, they passed a resolution that something, the world heritage should become a world heritage because the people should not lose it. By losing it, entire culture or heritage of a particular the period, particular the clan and particular area will go. Of course, they have got 2, both intangible and tangible. But it's tangible, we'll see. Intangible is even your, what you call it, Vedas and so many things, even folklore, folk art. Of course, they are all preserved in one way or other. But that also they are lacking because in North India's, they came forward to protect some of the heritage of the folklore and folk art. But here, that is, we are not approaching even the government. We have got so many folk art. When I was the director, that is, so many folk arts, in South Kerala, so many arts, each and every village has, even your Tayyam is, every village changes. It is not the same tayyam you are having everywhere. But this was not recognized by the international body as a cultural object. That should be taken over. That's my thing. I am seeing even UNESCO conferences when I go, they show something that is which is very even horse riding. They make it in Spain. They make it a heritage. But what about our heritage, which is there? Of course, it is living because of the participation of the local, of the natives. You are but a very great resource that the natives, they don't want to leave the native art, architecture, or performing art. That is the reason why you are still having our this performing arts. It will even, of course, your Kathakali has become some other status it has got. But each and every village has got its own status. This should be, we documented some of 300 places. I don't know, at that time there was no provision for documenting it, video documenting. So of course it's only, of course, audio documenting. I don't know whether it is available in the state or not, but this should be done. This is, UNESCO is very much interested. So if you just give them this paper, they will do it, especially in South India, Kerala. They are very much interested. We don't have any monument that is a World Heritage protection as a World Heritage monument in the UNESCO list from Kerala. Of course, now we are trying for that is in Kanyakumari district. That is the palace there. Of course, it is the Kerala. Here also, it is Matanjari Palace was tried. The problem is the 100 meets 300 problems. Of course, the lawyer will talk about it. Just the problem, just so it stopped. Next one. Of course, the responsibilities of the functions. Of course, whether how to preserve these monuments or preserve this cultural heritage. Of course, state and the union both has to put together to preserve it. That was according to our Constitution 1950. Of course, the ancient and historical monuments, records, and heritage sites remains declared or by under the law of Parliament to be national monument. Of course, there also we don't know much, of course, deviation or clarifications. Of course, sometimes it may be a very important monument, maybe a central monument. They may neglect this, which is very important for the state as a monument. But they say that is, if it is notified by the government of India, it is a central monument. That's all. Like that only we have got some monuments in Kerala. And most of the monuments are de facto protected, of course, which was protected earlier by the Cochin government. They became protection. Some of them also became protected by ARC. Of course, the responsibilities had its effects on the acquisition regulations of the demand. Of course, regulations, how you will make it. Unless otherwise there is a specific law, specific to these things, you cannot do it. Of course, something is, of course, just now he talked to me whether 300 meters, 200 meters construction should not come. Is applicable only to the central monument or state monuments. Central is imposing it, but state monuments are not imposing it, especially in Kerala. I think they are reluctant to impose it next one. Various charters, international charters, of course, as I told you, the conservation, of course, in the World Heritage Monuments names, it is declared as a World Heritage Monument, written in the World Heritage list as one of the important monuments by which it should be preserved or protected at any cost. Even if, of course, the entire humanity is with us to protect it. There is a reason why we are very much particular. But the problem is to give you a paper, of course, to file a paper for protection is such a difficult process. You want to protect the Saktan Thaman Palace, you have to spend about 40 lakhs just to prepare the paper itself for presenting it. That is the thing. Of course, the government may wake up and make the provisions for making it. Of course, e-commerce, so many cultural provisions or institutions are there to protect with us. But how we get to approach them? We are not approaching them, there is a problem. Next one. About these monuments. But these artifacts, art objects, we have got so many art objects, especially Kerala. When I came here in 1984 as customs officer, I saw his, I was about to assist the customs to recognize whether it is an antiquity or not. Antiquity is notified things which are more than 100 years old. They are given a year. For paintings, it is 75 years old. But some of them they were exporting without any authority from the customs. So I was appointed in 1984, that is to help them. But it was very difficult to help them. Then even earlier to that, they formed a committee, that is an expert committee for export of non-antiquities. So those who want to take it to the outside the country, that is antiquities which are notified, they would bring it to that committee. The committee was here, committee was Kochi, used to meet frequently in customs. And Kerala is one of the states that is which has having so much of art objects, that is plenty, which can be pilfered easily. Of course, if you go to other states, it may be only the stone or ivory or even metal. You will see these even very hard things. Very difficult to take it outside. Of course, we have seen so many cases of Kapoor and others that is pilfered all the sculptures from temples. But in Kerala, it was easy for them to take it because there are wooden sculptures, wooden carvings. So the committee was formed here in, I think, right 1982. After I came in 84, I took it over. So this was, they have to bring the objects. But mostly the things which are exported or which are illicitly gone to other countries is only the paintings. Of course, wall painting, not wall painting, that is canvas paintings. So many paper paintings, they are all gone from Kerala. That is what you have got, maybe only 10%. Maybe it's all gone. So there was a reason why it was formed. Of course, at that time, this, of course, art exporters were very cooperative. They used to bring it to the committee and show it. If you give the certificate only, they will take it. Otherwise, they will get it registered. I've got many registered antiquities, including paintings, wood carvings, more than about when I was there, 500, maybe more than that now. It is a thing. That insists that registration is a must. There is notified things, registration is a must. Except the coins. Coins are exempted because it is very small. Of course, when they notified coins also in 1972, but the people started melting it. So, Kerala is one of the states just having this huge collection of coins. That is especially, there is gold coins. I published a catalog on Roman gold coins in Kerala. Very small, it is only about 240, 250 coins. But if you see the reports, in 1858, this Kottayam, not far away from here, it is near, not Kottayam near Calicut. That is, they have found gold coins when they were digging for a house. And then they found that is 6 coolie horse gold coins were taken. What is district collector's note? This collector's report. 6 coolies carried so much of gold coins in their head. There's somewhere. Of course, it is not mentioning, but it was pilferage. But next, within few days, it reached the Bombay market. But gold Roman coins got a fascination for the Germans and Europeans to acquire. 1 gold coin will be 8 grams only. Today's market will be about, at that time, it was 7,000 rupees. But they could get 70,000, 1 lakh rupees for this. So it was very attractive. So only 20 coins from that hoard has reached the Trivandrum state, Maharajas, which that is, of course, catalogued in my catalog. So that was only 20 coins. Well, where all other coins have gone? Again, when I was the director, one, of course, in Idiki, that is about Roman gold, not gold coins, Roman yearly coins of 300 BC, gold, silver coins, dinars, there were Republican coins, very valuable, more valuable than the gold in the international market. So we learned from the newspapers, they got about 50 to 60 coins. So before I could go there, there is all the coins pilfered to market to Bombay. They were not going where they are gone. But fortunately, there is one of my friend that is in Trivandrum. That is, he acquired about 17 coins and gave to me. That is, he has not even taken money, which he collected from them, which of course is now in the Koigil Palace. It is there now exhibited. Very valuable coins. Like there's so many coins that is very small. That is very easy to miss. That is the thing. If a stone is there, it's difficult to carry. But coins, how you verify? This is the thing in Kerala was facing. Of course, this is the thing they are going to get it registered next month. Central and state governments notify some of the important monuments as particular. This is, as I told you already. In order to fulfill the provisions in the Constitution, the manual for preservation. How to preserve the monuments. This is for the pilferage you can stop in this person. So in 1924, there is John Marshall, who was the director of the Archaeological Survey of India. First time he formed a manual, that is known as a conservation manual. How the old monuments can be preserved without changing its characteristics and fabrics. If this hall is to be protected, you have to take care of these fabrics. Yes, what is the stone now? I don't know whether they are given the same live trust or not. But at the top, how they have done it. The same fabrics we have to adapt. This is the very important thing. So Marshall has given a beautiful book on this. It was a law for Archaeological Survey of India. It is John Marshall. Even now it is followed, not only in the USA, even in other countries also they follow, because he has given the percentage of mortar which he has to use, percentage of the other materials which is to be done. He has given in the manner. Of course, the word conservation is general term. Of course, when you see conservation, this is general term. It is the scientific methodology of prolonging the life. Because anything created by a man is destroyable. It may not be long. We cannot consider them to be hundreds of years, 200 years. But anyway, we can take some action to prolong the life and also to copy this. You can see. Of course, tangible, I told you already. Of course, this is intangible. It's invented during the journey of the man. That is, I told you this, your folklore, folk art, all are intangible. Next one. This is one of your tangible monuments, which is very, very, very greatest treasure of Kerala. Of course, it's surrounded by so many constructions all around. But it is a very, very great treasure. People who come here cannot escape without seeing it. Beautiful, of course, we call it Dutch monument, but it is, was constructed mostly by Portuguese and also given to the Maharaja. It is Cochin Maharajas for their living. It was their palace. Next one. This is the thing. Of course, there are some conservation problems. I will tell you a little later. Next one. Principles of conservation is very, very great for all the UNESCO has given. And also Marshall has already formed. In 1970 they were given. But it's 1924 itself Marshall has given. Next one. Because we've got a great heritage in preserving also. Not much action to preserve them in international level. Because they don't give any support to us unless otherwise we ask them. And also they give only the principles. They don't give any financial support. Next one. Of course, these are some of the techniques which we preserve. One is preservation, first step. If you see this building there's a crack or this beam is cracking, you give a support. This originally given an eye section. This eye section was not original. It would have been only originally a beam. So when they saw it was sagging, they would have given this eye section. That is to preserve it. This is first step you do it, then you do other measures. Then consolidations, then you find out what are the problems, then you preserve it, then restore it. That is, after studying it, is just like a doctor is prescribing something, after that is seeing these patients, all the parameters. Then transplantation, if necessary, we transplanted many monuments also. Protection of environment is very important. Methodology, preservation steps, we will see the preservation steps. It is always, we have to more observe the things and then come to a conclusion. You see the Kerala monuments, you people will be knowing there is more about the Kerala the structures and also what are there inside. It is a laterite, it is brick, how the laterite will react, because this part is laterite, the other part is only the brick and mortar. So the whole laterite will have its own problem because it is porous, it will allow the water to see the seepage into the top also. You can see it in some of the forts in Kerala and stuff. Next one, consolidation. Then you study it, you come to conclusions what we can do. Of course, replace, if you want to replace this being into I section, that you will take a decision. Next one. Restoration. Then you do the actual work. After proper planning only you can do it. Next one. About transplantation is very necessary only when it is not possible to preserve it in place. Because suppose if there is a flood or there is a waterlogged area, then you have to do it. Of course, we have got some such problems in North Kerala because of the frequent floods. But fortunately, there we have got these caves are all in top level, so no, it is preserved. But there are some buildings which are all completely gone in the recent floods. He has got an international recognition and award. Then 10 minutes, I will show you. That was the last. He's waiting. I don't want to take much of your time. I've got many things to share. For some other contacts, you can call me. I can talk about Kerala's archaeology. Kerala's archaeology. This is which will care your attention, which you can publish it as a paper also. I get given for publication to Gopi. Unfortunately, it's Gopi passed away. So there's in Lucas, in heritage, they have got a society. He invited me, I gave it, etc. I gave it text also. I don't know whether it is missing. But anyways, if you give, I can give it in that extent. So thank you all for your patience and also I taken much of your time in the evening. So thank you all. And once again, thank you.